The phone trembled in Daniel's hand, its screen a cold, unyielding void. 8 missed calls, each timestamp a fresh wound. 9:17 a.m., 11:43 a.m., 2:22 p.m., 5:08 p.m., 7:31 p.m., 8:46 p.m., 9:12 p.m., 9:59 p.m. No texts, no voicemails, just silence from Claire. The living room, bathed in the dim glow of a single lamp, felt cavernous, the air thick with the stale scent of untouched coffee on the table. His thumb hovered over her name again, but the weight of futility stopped him. Where was she? The question clawed at his chest, sharp and relentless, as the clock ticked past 10 p.m. Their apartment, once a sanctuary of shared laughter and whispered promises, now felt like a stage for a play gone wrong. The couch sagged under Daniel's weight, its faded blue fabric worn from years of movie nights and late-night confessions. He stared at the framed photo on the bookshelf, Claire's hazel eyes sparkling, her arm looped through his at their wedding 5 years ago. The memory felt like a lie now, brittle and ready to crack. She'd been distant for weeks, her smiles fleeting, her excuses sharp-edged. "Work's insane," she'd said, brushing off his questions with a wave of her hand. But tonight, the silence was different, louder, heavier, like a storm gathering just out of sight. The front door creaked open, and Daniel's heart lurched. Claire stepped inside, her coat damp from the autumn drizzle, her dark hair clinging to her cheeks. She didn't look at him, not at first. Instead, she kicked off her heels, the clatter echoing like a gunshot in the quiet. Then, her lips curled into a smirk, sharp, deliberate, almost cruel. "You know what?" she said, her voice low, teasing, as if daring him to ask. She tossed her purse onto the counter, the zipper glinting under the kitchen light, and leaned against the wall, watching him. Daniel's throat tightened. "Where were you?" The words came out raw, more plea than question. He stood, his hands clenching, unclenching, searching for something solid to hold on to. Her smirk faltered, but only for a moment, replaced by a flicker of something. Guilt? Defiance? She crossed her arms, her wedding ring catching the light, and tilted her head. "Work," she said, the word flat, rehearsed. "You called, like, a million times. What's the emergency?" The lie stung, sharp as a slap. Daniel's mind raced, replaying the past month. Her late nights, her phone angled away from him, the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne on her scarf last week. He'd dismissed it, told himself it was nothing, just stress, just work. But now, standing in the suffocating quiet of their home, doubt coiled around his heart like barbed wire. "You didn't answer," he said, his voice breaking. "All day, Claire. Not once." She sighed, rolling her eyes as if his pain was an inconvenience. "I was busy, Daniel. Meetings, deadlines. You know how it is." But her tone was too casual, her posture too relaxed. She moved to the fridge, pulling out a bottle of wine, her movements deliberate, almost performative. The glug of liquid into a glass filled the silence, each pour a taunt. He watched her, searching for the woman who'd once cried in his arms over a bad day, who'd promised forever under a starlit sky. That woman felt like a ghost now. "Claire," he said, stepping closer, his voice low but trembling with something darker, anger, fear, desperation. "Don't lie to me. Not tonight." Her hand froze on the glass, her knuckles whitening. For a second, her eyes met his, and he saw it, a flash of something raw, unguarded, before she shuttered it away. "I'm not lying," she snapped, but her voice cracked, betraying her. She turned away, her shoulders stiff, and took a long sip of wine. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in as Daniel's mind churned. He thought of the text he'd glimpsed on her phone 2 weeks ago, a name, Mark, followed by a heart emoji. He'd laughed it off, called himself paranoid. Mark was her co-worker, nothing more. But now, the memory burned, each detail sharpening into focus. Her sudden trips to the gym, her new perfume, the way she'd started locking her phone. "Who's Mark?" he asked, the question slipping out before he could stop it. Claire's glass clinked against the counter, too loud in the stillness. She didn't turn around. "Mark," she said, her voice light, almost mocking. "He's from work. Why?" But her shoulders tensed, her fingers twitching against the stem of the glass. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. He wanted to believe her, wanted to cling to the version of Claire he'd loved for years. But the truth was a splinter, working its way deeper with every evasive word. "Don't," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Don't play games with me." He crossed the room, stopping inches from her, close enough to smell the rain on her coat, the faint musk of someone else's cologne. His stomach churned, but he couldn't stop now. "I saw the text, Claire. 2 weeks ago. Mark. A heart. You didn't think I'd notice?" Her breath hitched, and for a moment, she was still, so still it terrified him. Then she turned, her eyes blazing with a mix of anger and something softer, something like regret. "You're spying on me now," she said, her voice rising. "That's what this is? You don't trust me." But her words were a shield, deflecting, not answering. Daniel's hands shook as he reached for her phone on the counter. She lunged, grabbing his wrist, her nails digging into his skin. "Don't you dare," she hissed. The air crackled with tension, their breathing ragged, their eyes locked in a silent battle. Daniel pulled his hand free, his heart splintering. "Why not?" he said, his voice breaking. "What are you hiding?" Her silence was an answer, heavier than any words. She stepped back, her face crumpling, and for the first time, he saw fear in her eyes, not of him, but of the truth. "It's not what you think," she said finally, her voice small, almost a whisper. But the words felt hollow, a flimsy defense against the weight of his suspicions. She sank onto a stool, her hands covering her face, and the sight of her, vulnerable, broken, tore at him. He wanted to hold her, to erase the last 12 hours, but the chasm between them was too wide now. "Tell me," he said, his voice raw. "Tell me everything." She looked up, tears streaking her face, and the smirk was gone, replaced by a raw, aching honesty. "It was a mistake," she said, her voice trembling. "Mark, it just happened. A few times. I didn't mean for it to." She stopped, choking on the words, but they were enough. The room spun, Daniel's knees buckling as the truth landed like a blow. A few times. Not a moment, not a lapse, but a choice, repeated, deliberate. He staggered back, the wall cold against his palms. "How could you?" he whispered, the question tearing through him. Love and rage tangled in his chest, each fighting for dominance. He thought of their vows, their dreams, the life they'd built. All of it, tainted now, unraveling like a frayed thread. Claire reached for him, but he flinched, her touch burning. "Don't," he said, his voice cold, final. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken questions. Could he forgive her? Could they rebuild? Or was this the end? The moment their love became a casualty of her betrayal? As he stood there, staring at the woman he'd thought he knew, the front door creaked open again. A man stepped inside, his face shadowed, but his presence was a knife, twisting the wound deeper. "Claire," the man said, his voice familiar, too familiar. "Mark." Daniel's world shattered, the pieces too sharp to pick up.